The sun rose over Crestwood High, a sprawling campus in a quiet, predominantly white suburb of Pennsylvania. Its brick buildings glinted in the morning light, and students streamed through the front gates, laughing, joking, and swapping weekend stories. Amid this familiar scene walked Malik Johnson, a 16-year-old African-American student whose presence at Crestwood had always drawn attention, but not for reasons he had chosen. Malik had moved to Crestwood at the start of the school year. A scholarship had opened the door for him to attend a school renowned for its academic rigor, advanced placement courses, and college track culture. Crestwood was the kind of place where the hallways echoed with ambition, where the pressure to excel was constant, and where competition, though unspoken, was fierce. But Crestwood was also a place where privilege quietly protected itself, and where someone like Malik, someone who didn't fit the expected mold, would always stand out. From the very first day, Malik's brilliance was impossible to ignore. His answers in math class were precise and inventive. His essays in literature revealed a depth that impressed even the strictest teachers, and his science projects bordered on genius. Teachers lauded him, often holding him up as an example to the rest of the class. But admiration, Malik soon realized, often came with its own shadows. Some students didn't celebrate his talent. They feared it. It became harder to navigate the social landscape. Simple interactions turned into minefields. In group projects, classmates challenged his ideas more aggressively, dismissing suggestions that were often the key to success. During study sessions, Malik noticed subtle sabotage, his notes misplaced, answers deliberately miscopied. Teachers noticed the friction, but without overt proof of bullying, they often chalked it up to normal adolescent rivalry. Malik began to understand that his intelligence, his very presence, had become a threat to the fragile egos of others. At first, the tension was subtle, almost imperceptible. During lunch, whispers would ripple through the cafeteria when Malik received yet another perfect score on a test. Groups of students would exchange sideways glances, muttering under their breath, "Does he even try? Or he's trying too hard." It's annoying. Malik, accustomed to being underestimated in the past, tried to ignore it. He buried himself in his work, believing that excellence should speak for itself. But over time, the whispers hardened into something sharper, colder, more deliberate. The tipping point came during the annual science fair. Malik's project, a machine that could convert plastic waste into usable energy, was not only innovative but fully functional. As he stood before the judges, explaining the mechanics with calm authority, the room seemed to lean in. When the winners were announced, Malik's name echoed through the auditorium. Applause erupted, yet a few students exchanged looks of disbelief, their faces tight with resentment. They didn't see a brilliant student. They saw someone whose success reflected their own insecurities. After that day, the subtle hostility became more pronounced. Rumors circulated. "He must have cheated," some whispered. "No way he did all that by himself." Even some teachers, though supportive in private, seemed hesitant to call on him as frequently in class, afraid of inflaming tensions. Malik noticed it all: the stares that lingered too long, the deliberately snide remarks, the students who ignored his greetings as if by erasing him they could erase his accomplishments. It wasn't just competition anymore, it was fear. By the time Malik reached the debate tournament, the atmosphere had become almost suffocating. He was chosen to represent Crestwood in the state finals, a recognition of his rhetorical skill and quick thinking. His opponent was formidable, a seasoned debater from a neighboring district. Malik's performance was flawless, his arguments precise, his timing impeccable, his confidence steady. But midway through the match, the opposing team accused him of plagiarism. The claim was absurd, easily refuted with Malik's meticulous citations and original research, yet the accusation sent a ripple of doubt through the audience. Some students in Crestwood's own stands looked at him with uncertainty. A few teachers shifted uneasily, and Malik felt the sting of disbelief he had faced since his first day. Despite the victory that followed, the incident left him shaken. He realized that his brilliance wasn't merely noticed, it unsettled those around him. Teachers who had once celebrated his achievements now spoke with caution, fearing the backlash from students who felt threatened by his intellect. Friends he had tried to make drifted away, not out of malice, but perhaps out of discomfort with how different he was. The isolation was subtle but constant, a quiet pressure that made even his successes feel bittersweet. Yet through the adversity, Malik found his own strength. A few teachers recognized his courage and offered guidance beyond academics. A handful of students, inspired by his perseverance, reached out for tutoring, asking questions, or simply standing by him when others whispered. Slowly, Malik understood that brilliance could illuminate not only paths for oneself, but also for others willing to learn and grow. He began mentoring younger students, sharing his knowledge and insight, and quietly proving that intelligence could be both powerful and generous. His final year at Crestwood brought both triumph and reflection. Malik won national competitions in science and debate, and scholarship offers arrived from prestigious universities across the country. Still, the journey had left scars. He had learned the bitter truth that society does not always celebrate talent. Sometimes it fears it, especially when it disrupts comfort zones and challenges existing hierarchies. But Malik also discovered resilience, a quiet kind of defiance that refused to let others' insecurities define his self-worth. On the day of graduation, as he walked across the stage and received his diploma, he felt a mixture of pride, relief, and resolve. He had survived an environment that had tested him at every turn. He had endured jealousy, prejudice, and intimidation, and yet he emerged not diminished but stronger, more determined to use his intellect as a force for good. He had learned to navigate the complexities of a world that feared the brilliance it could not control, and he understood, perhaps better than anyone, that true excellence always attracts attention. As Malik stepped out of the auditorium into the warm sunlight, he reflected on the path he had traveled. The same peers who had once whispered behind his back now applauded him, though he knew their admiration was tinged with unease. He had learned to hold his head high, to let his work speak, and to never dim his own light to make others comfortable. Brilliance, he realized, was both a gift and a challenge. It could inspire, intimidate, and even isolate, but it could never be taken away. And as he walked into the future, diploma in hand, determination in his heart, and the weight of experience on his shoulders, he carried with him the most important lesson of all, that intelligence, courage, and persistence will always leave their mark, even when the world feels threatened by them. When brilliance becomes a threat,